that only two modern U.S. presidents failed to win re-election and both lost during an economic downturn. How is that going to factor into the upcoming election? Do you think it will turn out to be a referendum on the president's handling of coronavirus, or do you think that there is room for him to steer the narrative toward other issues?
I think it's going to be very difficult to reverse the focus on the coronavirus and its impact. The pandemic has exposed numerous fault lines in the U.S., which predate the president, of course, and the fact that the U.S. is in the midst of still the first wave and the deadliest wave at that. Rather than a second wave, makes his re-election campaign much more difficult. It isn't going to be a matter of willing this pandemic away. And from the perspective of an economic recovery, what's different about this compared to the global financial crisis is that people are scared. Hence the indemnity provisions in the new measures coming out of Congress. But just indemnifying businesses, hospitals, et cetera, isn't going to necessarily get people back to pre-pandemic consumer behavior and spending patterns, and that's going to hurt the recovery.
To that point, to what extent can further relief measures out of Washington actually stimulate the economy, given so much revolves around consumer sentiment, and as you said, Americans are scared?
Well, the stimulus measures, whatever people may think, this is just going to allow people to continue paying their rent and make their car payments and this sort of thing. Again, in the UK, where I'm based, and in the European Union, one of the lessons of the Eurozone crisis was, to move swiftly with this relief. And we've seen, in effect, the return of the state, including by center-right governments. So it's not the kind of partisan issue that I think it's painted to be, so much as an acknowledgement that this is an extraordinary public health crisis colliding with a significant economic crisis. And the difference with the U.S. is the absence of a social safety net, so that when people lose their jobs, they also lose their health care. The absence of sick pay and these kinds of things means people go to work even if they're not feeling well. These are long-term implications of the crisis that the short-term stimulus measures can't address, but it's why return to the point about the election being a referendum, fair or unfair, on the president's handling of the coronavirus and all of those fault lines that have been exposed.